is up, coaches, cheerleaders, and warp spawn? We got a couple streamers with us today, prestigious, world renowns. Remember, if you like what you see here, like, share, sub, spread the love. Let's get into it. All right, folks. We've had Electric on the channel before. We're being freshly joined by Runbad. How y'all
Hello.
doing today? In this holiday
Doing really
season?
well. Doing really well. Happy to be here.
Cool, cool. Um, We're gonna start off with just a couple little easy questions. Obviously, Runbad, I met you at Chaos Cup in person, unexpectedly. How was your Chaos Cup experience?
Yeah, it was really good. Really fun tournament. Really well run. Very, very streamlined. A lot of great
Totally.
coaches and a lot of great people. Had a really, really good time. And yeah, looking forward to probably making it an annual for me, I think.
Mhm.
Traveling there is fairly reasonable from where I'm at. So it's a pretty easy one to pick out on the calendar and probably make it an annual thing, I'm hoping.
Yeah, and I remember you still like I still hadn't gotten home from my trip yet, like in the States, and then you were like already home and streaming like as I landed, and I was like, what even?
Yeah, yeah. It's like a 3 hour flight and then a 2 hour drive. So not too bad.
Yep, that was
Yeah.
cool. All right, Electric.
Yeah.
We've talked about you playing tabletop.
Yes.
How's that going? Have we peer pressured you into it successfully yet?
I'm definitely gonna start. I was I basically got myself like a dark elf box and stuff. I was like, right, I'm gonna
Mhm.
sit some time aside. I'm gonna get it all sprayed up, and I'm gonna start painting it and stuff. And then I kind of like I opened it all, and I was like, oh my word.
Yeah, a lot of
Um,
people they seem intimidated by the dark elf ones because the little spiky bits.
yeah, I was like, oh, I was like, right, I could probably spray all this, but like, I'm gonna be useless at putting it all together. So instead, I've decided to just have a buddy of mine do it for me. So that's gonna get done sometime in the next couple of months, I think.
Yeah, that's something that I actually see that's kind of common. Is a lot of the people that you'll see at top tables at events just didn't paint their team or assemble it, or they're just like call their buddy who already lives in the area and they're like, oh yeah, you can just borrow mine. And then they go and just like destroy everybody. It's like, all right, feels good, man.
Yeah, I thought I would be like into the painting and stuff, and I realized that I don't mind painting bigger stuff,
Hmm.
but like smaller stuff, it's just I don't think it's my thing. It's too much patience required.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
it's very
there's
time consuming.
yeah, well, there's also like shortcuts you can do, but it's a practice skill, so it's one of those things that I've seen some people who are really artistic, kind of from the get go and really practiced up in other kinds of painting or whatever that jump in and they're like decent at it, but they still have a lot of bad habits when they start out just because they haven't had the chance to learn. You don't do that. But it's
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It just takes a bunch of time, and it's also like the way I look at it, kind of like one third of the hobby. There's like the actual, assembling the miniatures, painting, that whole thing, the hobby aspect. There's kind of like learning about the game, hanging out with people talking about the game, and then there's the actual playing of the game. And some people are really good at two of the three. That tends to be the breakdown. So I would love
Yeah,
to
I
get.
played Julian at World Cup, and he's like really good at the game and really good at painting. And I said that that's not allowed. You need to choose one.
Yep.
You can't just beat the shit out of me and have a way nicer team than me. That's not fair. So
That's definitely a thing.
he was second in best painted and won best Amazons at the same time. So I was like, not fair.
Nice.
Got to spread it around a little bit.
I One of my goals is to have on my NAF page. I want to have one of each kind of award. So I've already got first. I've already got runner up. I think I have runner up. I don't remember. Um, and then I have most casualties. I have my wooden spoon on there. So we're getting there, and I've lost out on best defense like two events in a row by like one weird little thing happening. It's just like whatever, that's fine. So I'm gonna be a big boy starting next year and actually try to play the game as intended. All right, so season two has gone, season three has begun. Let's just start with a breakdown of your season two. How was it? performance wise, and also just in terms of game shenanigans and everything
Yeah,
else.
season two went okay for me. I got, I think I ended up 57th or something, and ended up qualifying with the Chaos team for the play-in tournaments. So it was a lot of fun. Played a lot of different teams. Played a lot of elves, and then also it was a Chaos team that was 57th at the end of the season. So yeah, I do like the new format. I don't mind it so much when like the Master Division is fairly competitive games all the time, which is nice.
Hmm.
You're not qualifying based on playing people that are maybe newer or just have a big TV team. So yeah, it was a good season. It was fun, but happy obviously 3 months to see it go and a new team come in and then get into the playoff tournament. There was fun too. So
Completely different kind of experience on the console side of things.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
Um,
peasant.
yeah, I stream on Xbox, so I was obviously playing on Xbox, and consoles weren't allowed to take part in the tournament at the end, which is a bit of
Yeah.
a shame because there's no crossplay yet. Hopefully that comes sometime next year. But yeah, like fairly early on, I was like, "Oh, I'm super excited! I get to play Underworld." Never played Underworld because I don't play tabletop. Got that into like 37th or something in the top 100 on the Xbox. I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then straight away was like, right, time for meme shenanigans, and got like a Frenzy Chaos team into the top 100 as well. And then my season kind of took a bit of a dip after that because I tried playing Blackhawks and it just didn't go very well.
Yeah, I remember seeing you play Black Orcs, and I was just like, as a brave fellow. Like they've had some
Yeah,
tournament performance, because they always get like overcompensated on skill packages, which they kind of need a little bit, but I don't know. And then there's some Black
Yeah,
Orc
I played them
players.
at my most recent tabletop event. I played Black Orcs, and yeah, they're fun. There's some different ways to build them, right? There's some I don't know.
Mhm.
I go really guard heavy, but then other people like really like going block, and I don't know. I'm a big fan of guard and just relying on brawler to get me out of situations sometimes. But what's right and wrong is still up in the air for them, I think. But it is fun. You get a lot of good skill options with them because you've got. So I think they were tiered the same as like goblins and halflings in the last one I went to. So it was it was entertaining for sure.
Yeah, and I like the discount bribes. That to me is just like
Yeah, for sure.
it's
Yeah.
the thing. I was trying an
Mhm.
Underworld team, but I built it to be stunty and I couldn't find a match. I let the matchmaker roll for 2 hours one time, but I think my team value was like 400k or something like that. And I was just gonna induce Morg and like have general chaos or whatever, but it just like wouldn't match me up and I was sad.
Mm.
There's an Xbox player that I know. He absolutely loves stunties. So in like season one, he was just running like all goblins and stuff on the Black Hawk team.
Hmm.
Underworld came in, so he's like, "Oh yeah, now I've just got goblins and snotlings." And then he started to cheat near the end because he got himself a gutter runner. I was like, "Ooh, that's a bit. That's not really stunty."
Yeah,
No.
broken the rules. I've seen stunty Black Orcs twice, I think, at like physical tournaments. So it's a thing that exists. It's an option.
The one thing I really wish that they didn't do for like the actual teams where you've got like Black Hawk stunty teams is that it's always 0 to 12 goblins. Like why is that not 0 to 16?
Yeah.
Like let me have more goblins. Because when I did it in season one, I was like, right, I'm kind of just like running out of goblins.
Well,
Like if I
that's
take like 3 casualties in the first half, it's like, okay, I don't even have a full team. I'm kind of struggling now.
Yeah, it does seem weird they wouldn't let you take 16.
that's one of my complaints about Renegades. I know Renegades, like the whole gimmick is like one lineman or whatever, but you've got two throw teammate players and you have one right stuff player, and one of your throw teammate players wants to eat the right stuff player. And I played a couple of tabletop leagues with them, and I'm like, can I just have two goblins, maybe four goblins? Like, is it gonna absolutely break Renegades, with their 70k rerolls if I get more than one goblin?
Yeah.
Give me
I
I
one,
don't
feel
think
so, I
one
feel so
snotling.
bad for Renegades. Like I tried playing them, and I was like, all right, my team, it's looking okay. It's at like 1,300 team value. What skills
Hmm.
have I got? And I've got like 4 block. And
all
like,
the elf. That's what I found when I played them. The elf is just the entire team.
yeah,
For my tabletop league, I ran them for 2 seasons, and I told myself going in the first season, it's just to grind skills. I'm grinding like block and dodge. I threw a couple guards in there because sometimes I don't want the troll and ogre to do anything. Like, I want the option to just let them sit in a spot so I don't have to like make them stupid, but I don't know. Then my second season, my Minotaur missed half of the season because I had him pretty decked out. Like, he was definitely the star of the team. And then first game, turn one, uphill block, miss next game. I'm like, okay, it's fine. Happened again in the next game, I think on like turn three. And then he came back and then he died like immediately. And
oh no.
it wasn't like I was leaving him unprotected or anything. I learned that lesson in the first season pretty easily. You don't just go and frenzy into the middle of a bunch of stuff and then hope for the best because he's strength 5, but I don't know, only so much. But with Renegades, what really kills me is the 70k for rerolls. Like, I get thematically why that's a thing, but like in practice, it just hurts, especially when you have things like sevens where it's just like a flat doubling of that. It's like extra punishing.
I've always thought that the reroll cost is a really great way that they could have balanced the game, and they've kind of ignored it as an option and continued to have the shit teams have 70k rerolls while dwarves and other teams have 50k.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense to me. I think you could easily invert those. I mean, sure, if you want to, for role play purposes, say that one team trains better than the other together. Ultimately, it's a missed opportunity, I think, to balance the game really with a really easy mechanic that's already built in.
Worst case, my compromise is instead of 50, 60, 70, just 50, 55, 60. Just that by itself would enable a lot of teams to take positionals in a lot of different packages.
Yeah, that could work too.
Yeah, I've always been a bit like iffy on the rerolls because it's like, oh, well, the teams that work well together, you've got a full team of dwarves, of course they get 50 rerolls. Or same with Skaven, but then you're like, yeah, but like all the Nurgle boys, they all have the rot and stuff. Why do they not get 50k rerolls?
For sure.
They can't hear you.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Or just make them the same for everybody. Realistically, make them all 50k.
Dude, Gutter Bowl flat 100k.
Yeah.
And I think Gutter Bowl was a totally different tangent, but Gutter Bowl takes a lot of the things that I'm not a huge fan of with sevens and just like makes it more fun for me. I don't know. But
yeah, I haven't played Gutter Bowl yet, but I've heard it's really, really fun. I've got it. I have it. I just haven't even opened it yet, but it's something I want to check out. I've heard it's one of the better sub games.
For me, it's 11s, Dungeon Bowl, Gutter Bowl, 7s. I think is how I rank the different formats.
Mm.
What do you think, Electric? With all of your
tabletop
experience?
I need to get into tabletop first.
Yeah, I haven't played anything but 11, so
I will cyberbully you until you play tabletop.
I'm definitely. Well, I mean, I've got a place kind of near me. Like a lot of people know about it because it's in Stockport. It's like Water Bowl, and they do a lot of stuff outside of the bigger Water Bowl tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'll be going to kind of like test the ropes and stuff. And I already know a couple of people from like my chat and stream and stuff. So like they said, oh yeah, I go there. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll have someone that I can talk to then. So that's nice.
Yeah. Well, you'll find the like in-person scene for Blood Bowl. I gush about it all the time on the channel, but like it's competitive and not toxic somehow. Like, I don't understand. I've played a bunch of other games and I just haven't hit that level. Like, a lot of times when you have a bunch of really nice people, like, I don't mean this in a bad way, they're just not very good at the game. But then other times, you have people who are so into it and they're like checking the order of all of your sentences and words as you announce what you do, and like, no, you said this before this, you can't do it, things like that. So I don't know, but
yeah, tabletop Blood Bowl is pretty welcoming. I think, in large, like people, even if people are tryharding, they're not like dickheads, which seems rare. A lot of competitive scenes, it seems like people are very, very, always trying to get a leg up, no matter what the cost, and hurting feelings and whatever. And I just don't see that in Blood Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the way I put it is people at the top tables are laughing, and that doesn't happen like ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it might have like a small thing to do with like the built-in RNG, right? Like even
Mhm.
if you're one of the better players, you know that like one game it is just gonna go out the window, and there's not much you can do, and you might as well just have a chat and have a laugh with the person that you're sat opposite.
Yeah. Absolutely.
My favorite part, like I drank a lot in my 20s. I kind of sort of sometimes drink now in my 30s, but like I have been given more free drinks at Blood Bowl tournaments than like any place, any environment ever besides that. Even at parties, I'm pretty sure. It's amazing how
Yeah.
often I just sit down, especially in the first round. Someone's like, "Oh, you want a beer?" It's like, "All right." But yeah, and I also don't know any other game where people just like bring alcohol into a convention center and just nobody says anything about it. Like I don't know why that's okay. Like I've seen people with like multiple like whiskey, bottles or whatever, and then a bunch of Dixie cups, and they're just like walking in like not even trying to hide it and just pouring shots.
At the World Cup, I had multiple opponents bring liquor from their country and give me a shot before the game.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a tradition over there, which is it's great, right? I mean, it's everybody's kind of exchanging gifts and stuff, so it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the swag too. The swag is a really fun part. Like I have so many little stickers and different things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Chaos Cup was crazy for that. I'm excited to do more of
Yeah.
those big tournaments. Honestly, like East Coast in general, man. Like I will defend the West Coast in a lot of different ways, for different games and stuff. But man, East Coast Blood Bowl has been so much fun. Like it's a different breed.
Yeah, Florida seems to have a really good scene going on for sure.
So what's the meta on your dogs seeing things outside? What's the format look like?
Anything that moves sets them off, no matter what time of day.
What do you have? Like
It's
squirrels?
horrible.
Squirrels or what?
Oh god, they're kind of they're getting old now. They're like 9 years old, but they've got like one of them's got Chihuahua in it, so it's like
Oh
yeah,
no.
you've got no chance.
Yeah, them and wiener dogs. Which I didn't know this, but apparently competitive wiener dog racing is a thing. So like my
I can't
YouTube,
imagine they're very fast.
some of them are. It's mainly just they get distracted. Like they'll run half. It's on a horse track, right? So they'll get like a third of the way down the horse track, and then they stop and they're looking around and they're all happy because there's like lots of people yelling and making noise, and then there's a bunch of other dogs and they'll start playing with each other. So I don't know. My YouTube feed is all sorts of weird and jacked up. I think that started with I like rabbits if you can't gather. But there was this Japanese channel that hasn't uploaded in like 12 years and they covered like rabbit hopping tournaments and it was the Japan Rabbit Hopping Society. So these tournaments, like they would just have like their locals with like 10 entrants or something like that. And then ever since then, I started getting like corgi races and wiener dog races and all sorts of other bizarre things. But I don't know. Whenever I retire, I'm gonna have some fun hobbies. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's the thing with YouTube, isn't it? Like you've got like a bunch of Blood Bowl content, a bunch of like other content. Like for me, like I'm super into like Pokemon and stuff.
Yeah.
I like the competitive scene and all that sort of stuff. And then there'll be just that one random video, and if you watch that video, then your whole feed just turns into whatever that was.
Yeah, I'm also into the YouTube drama. It's something that I don't bring too heavily to this side, but I do firmly believe, like, my channel philosophy, I'm trying to push the community towards live streams at events because a bunch of other tabletop games do it. I know it's kind of weird to do for like a 2+ hour, like, arguably slower paced kind of like tabletop game, but I think there's a lot of room for hype, especially with the dice rolls and stuff. I think that'd be cool. The other thing is I really want to push meme and shit posting culture. Like if you're in the main groups or things, well, sometimes when you post things or you post something just completely hyperbolic and then people answer you seriously or like get offended or things, and it's like it's not about being offended, it's literally just about being hyperbolic and ridiculous and you laugh at how silly it is, that kind of thing. But I don't
Oh
know.
God, I've had to deal with far too much of that. I recently became the moderator in the BB3 public Discord, and oh my
Oh,
word,
what are you thinking?
That's
Oh
the
my
worst
god.
decision ever.
Oh fuck. That channel is fucked. I'll go in and I'll read for 2 minutes and I'll just nope, I'm out of here. There's no way I'm getting involved in this.
there's a lot of times where I look at it and I'm just like, oh God, no. You
God,
know
I
what?
can
I'm not even
imagine.
gonna. I'll read it, but I'm not going to get involved in this. And if it goes too far, then I can step in. But thankfully,
You're,
most of the time, it's okay.
how could you want to moderate that? Good God. You got a death
I mean,
wish.
I think part of me feels really, really sad for Johan because he does a lot of heavy lifting, and I feel like I just need to take
Yeah, but
just a
he ain't sitting
little
there
bit
reading it
off
like
his
you are. There's
shoulders.
no fucking way. There's no way he's doing that. He is out. Oh, it's like a goddamn tire fire. I would not go anywhere near that shit. It is not. You're never putting it out. It's not happening. Go in there
Oh
and pack
no.
day. It's just an absolute cesspool. It's. Oh, I can't imagine.
Like I've seen way worse
Disgusting.
from other communities, but yeah, I can't imagine moderating something on that scale. I
Oh
I
man.
will admit sometimes I go in there and just poke the bear at Jimmy Fantastic because he gets really upset about things and it's really funny, but
Uh,
It's out of
yeah,
control.
kind of
yeah. There's
represents.
just a running bit that Jimmy Fantastic can never be wrong. So it's.
It's just
Uh,
funny how the stuff will get worked up about too. And I think I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but I think he's one of the couple people I've had pull the, well, what's your NAF record like? And it's like, oh man, we're hitting real territory now. For the
uh,
record, it's super mid. Yeah, so that I never professed. We talked about this the last time when I was talking to you and Gauze. Just because somebody makes content on a game doesn't mean they're actually good at it or they think they're the best. It's like I'm just here to hobby and add a fourth level of hobbying to give myself even more work to enjoy things.
yeah, I mean that's why I started. That's why I started streaming. I was just like, I couldn't really play too much Blood Bowl 2 outside of private league stuff because the Xbox scene just went off the edge of a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was super excited for Blood Bowl 3. I started playing it a little bit, and I was like, I'm actually having a load of fun. And you know what? I mean, I might as well stream. At least then I can have fun and talk to everybody. So
Yeah. No, and I've
Yeah, that was me too, for sure. I mean, there was a large gap in the North American Blood Bowl scene for streaming, right? After say 6 p.m., it was just there was nobody ever. So very, very rarely, Artemis would be on, kind of sometimes, but sparingly. So just decided to turn it on, and well, here we are a couple of years later, right?
yeah, this is the way it goes. So as
Mhm.
far as Blood Bowl 3 meta, let's say somebody jumps all the way up the ranks, what do they expect to see here? Or do you think the season is solved yet?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, we saw Blackworks at the top of the ladder a lot in the season one because they fit really well against orcs and dwarves, and their foul game got them off their seat, right? And there were so many dwarves for the first while. Dwarves have seemed to drop off a little bit now. I don't really see a lot of dwarves. I don't know if it's just because I'm playing at like a lot of diamond and so on, or diamond and platinum, but I don't really see as many dwarves as I used to. I don't know if it's people got bored of them or whatnot, but Underworld are big now, but Underworld don't really live it long enough a lot of the time. A lot of their good players tend to die because they've got to get punched. So I don't know. I mean, meta wise, for the best team right now, it's tough to say, especially with the TV cap. The TV cap reducing to 1800 definitely changes things a lot. Your Nurgle and Chaos don't get 8 Mighty Blow Claw or whatever whatever it is, right? They need to kind of temper themselves as well. So I don't know if there's one clear cut answer right now.
Would you? Yeah, go ahead.
I think I kind of agree with a lot of it. I would say that we're not seeing dwarves as much because I think they just kind of they don't like undead, do they? They like
Yeah.
if the dwarves have to deal with 2 strength 5 mummies, and then if they get out positioned a little bit, oh no, they've been tagged by a zombie and now they can't move anyway. So I think with the mixture of strength, fodder, and then the speed of the ghouls, the dwarves are just going to struggle a little bit. I think once undead kind of drop off a little bit and people like relax and play other things, then dwarves might make a return. I think the strongest team might just be orcs at the moment because they're so reliable and they can kind of do it all.
Yeah, and I mean the extra speed and obviously in 2020 has been immense for them, and I agree the durability and the availability of basically mass guard makes them a pretty hard thing to deal with in a bash meta.
Yeah, I've been on Toon Kings for tabletop events. I'm trying to figure out what to run for LVO, the Vegas tournament in January. I've got like a week to submit my list, but I've been running little test games, and I pulled the orcs back out, and I'm like, this feels really good. Like, I don't know. And it's the same thing you're talking about, a little bit of guard spam, but I was going guard, guard, block, block on my biggins. I might go through guard, block, might feel a little better. But yeah, no, there's just the movement 5, like by itself, just feels really good. My only thing, because I was considering undead too, like the movement 7 is huge. Like it's one number, but I always say movement allowance is the most broken stat because if someone's out of range, it doesn't matter how many 6s you roll, they're out of range. Like, and especially with proper screening. But I don't know. I'm still not sure between I think orcs and undead are probably going to be the ones that I'm looking at. But
yeah, undead was my first tabletop team. I played, I don't know, maybe like 13 or 14 games with them, and then I got Norse. I played a lot of Norse on tabletop, and now I started getting into Black Orcs a little bit just because they're obviously off meta, but you do get some interesting skill packs with them, and the ability to take a bribe in there. Like I think my first tabletop game with orcs in an NAF tourney, I had 8 casualties on dwarves. So it was obviously a bit of a dicing, but at the same time, it was like, okay, I could get used to this.
Right.
And at the same time, as nobody expects you to win any games, right? So they're definitely, I find them entertaining. But Norse is still probably my favorite team as far as tabletop goes.
Yeah, it's Snowball. I think it was like Norse and Amazons were up near the top as far as like most played. So
Already do you guys playing the NAF tourney on Pumble next Saturday?
I am not.
No.
So my Fumble experience, like I've played like 5 games, I think. My only thing is my eyes aren't used to like the layout yet, so I will
Right.
inevitably misclick or do something, and
I see.
that's it. I want to hop on there just because there's so many skilled coaches. Like one of my things too, if I'm ever at like a physical event and I see somebody wearing like a Fumble jersey or whatever, I'm like, dude, I'm about to get destroyed. Like you just know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, they're definitely as far as competition goes, it's unparalleled for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, that's where you're going to develop the best as well, right? I mean, hammering on people that just bought Blood Bowl 3 isn't the most, yeah, the best training, we'll say for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things with tabletop also is I've had a couple people that I've taught and they're like, "Oh, I played on the computer or whatever." And what that really meant was they played against the AI. And I'm just
hmm
like, oh, it's shooting yourself in the foot. Like it's cool for like learning the mechanics, but then with Blood Bowl 3, you're not necessarily even learning what the mechanics are. You're probably just like clicking around like, oh, it's this guy. He's my guy who hits people. So the hit guy goes and just base everybody up and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
that is one thing that's nice about the events though is how open to helping in general that people are.
hmm
And it it's crazy. Like I've never seen another game where your opponent is actively like, you could do this instead, whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And like, you move a guy and then say, oh, and you ask them if, can I just move that back if you haven't rolled any dice, right? I've never seen somebody say no, right? Like everybody's fine with just, helping you along, and nobody wants to win on technicalities and calling you out and stuff like that. And first got involved in tabletop last November in Ottawa. Started going there. Just found a NAF tourney on the NAF site, and kind of went and showed up, and didn't know anybody. And me and my brother went, and yeah, I mean, amazing scene in Ottawa around there. The I Knuffle podcast kind of covers a lot of the Great Lakes area, so called the Glam series.
Mm-hmm.
So they do Ohio, Michigan, Ontario, and Quebec, and pretty much anywhere through that corridor. There's like a rankings, season rankings, and stuff like that for any tourneys. And yeah, great group of guys. Next month we're having the Capital City Kickoff again, which is every year, and I think they're at 68 coaches, which is pretty good for a fairly localized event. A lot between Ottawa and Montreal, just a really big scene. So
Yeah, I say anything that hits around 50 for North America is definitely
yeah,
pretty good
yeah,
size. A lot of them that
yeah,
I hit,
absolutely,
it's like 16 to 24, and it's just kind of like
yeah,
that's what you can
yeah,
find basically.
yeah. I think they used to be around 20 on average a lot of the time for smaller events, and now they're hitting like the 30s on even like a 1 day tournament. So
That's cool.
they're definitely getting a lot of growth.
Yeah, 30
Yeah, I'm
people.
super excited
Yeah,
for the growth overall. I mean, you can see it as well with like the World Cup numbers as well. It's just been growing and growing and growing. It's been like I think it was something like there was not so like the most recent one had like it was like nearly 2,500 coaches.
Mm-hmm.
it was like 20, a
Um,
little under 2300. Yeah,
yeah, and then like
it was
the one
crazy.
before that was about 1,500. The one before that was like 900 or something. So it's going up. It's exciting to see.
For sure.
Yeah, I would love to see some crossover from some of the other gaming crowds. And that's one thing too, like even with LVO, they're people. It's mainly 40K players that'll comment on like the posts about LVO coming up or whatever, and they're still asking. They're like, "Oh, we haven't got our mission packet yet. It's like a month out." Like things like that, and then all sorts of rules arguments about specific things or whatever. Not that Blood Bowl's immune to rules arguments, but I feel like it's a tighter system than a lot of other miniature systems I've seen.
Yeah, there's not a lot of discrepancy. There's definitely little things, but and the facts often don't clarify them like they should. But
Yeah.
yeah, in general, it's pretty fleshed out. And I've heard that from other players that used to play 40K that have come to Blood Bowl because it is a lot more streamlined and a very everything's a little more agreed upon, and it's not people trying to squeeze an extra half inch out of moving a mini to make a huge difference and all that sort of thing. So
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever touched the Marvel game Crisis Protocol. I played a couple games or whatever, but it comes with three different size plastic rulers that have like a hinge where they can like move so you can measure angles, and they're short, medium, and long movement. And I was just like, I'm trying to imagine playing this on a competitive level and the absolute nightmare of moving at like a 37-degree angle with a short movement and not gaining like a little bit extra off your base lip or something. Like it's a popular game and it seems to do well enough. But yeah, I don't miss having to measure.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be any a part of that whatsoever. I'm just like, right, listen, we've got squares on a board. That's good
yeah,
enough for me.
yeah. Count to 9.
Yeah, there was old skirmish games called Anima Tactics, but I had like a leader unit that had a 12-inch aura where if one of my dudes died, I could roll a die and they would like the leader would revive it. She'd take the damage and then the person would come back with that many health. And I got so good at measuring 12 inches exactly from doing that. So I'm just like walking with my Death Stars with my like base just barely in. But in that game didn't allow pre-measurement either. Like I don't know if any of y'all are old timers, but like fourth edition 40K and I think fifth edition, like you couldn't pre-measure. You just had to kind of guess. So people would have like one las cannon that had like a 48-inch range. They'd leave it in the back, and then they'd measure the shooting for that and just happen to overlap their other units to see as they went. And you had to technicality your way through pre-measuring, and
Oh
then
God,
somebody gets mad about it and it just turned into a whole thing.
Yeah, not for me.
nope, not for me either.
Also, 40K used to be a whole lot cooler because you had tons of just weird, clear pieces of plastic. So if you had like a blast template, now it's like, oh, this many guys at a certain range or something. But it used to just be like, here's a circle. Can you see the guy under it? Okay, the guy gets hit. Or it's same with the
Mhm.
Flamer template. It was just like this teardrop, and then the Apocalypse stuff came out, and they had a template, no joke, that was this big, that was a dome. And they're like, okay, if you can put it over the thing gets nuked. It's like I can
Oh my
imagine
god.
something like that for Blood Bowl. I think Giants are probably the closest we have, but
Yeah. I didn't play against any Giants at Chaos Cup, but I'm kind of glad I didn't. It doesn't seem like a mechanic I really want to deal with.
it just seems like one
I,
of
I
those things you're gonna have to look in the rule book over and over for.
Yeah, it's just I don't know.
I don't
It's
even
not
know how
fun.
Giants work.
Exactly.
They're like
Exactly. That's the problem.
they take the
They take
short,
four squares, right? So
yeah,
it's
4 squares.
imagine trying to put a four square unit into Blood Bowl.
Yeah, they're what
Can it
four
move?
hundred k, I think.
Like all the squares have to be open when it's moving. If it's leaving any tackle zones, it has to. It's just like
Yeah,
very, very convoluted in my opinion. Kind of doesn't fit the game well.
yeah. I do like the concept of kaiju battles, but I like that's why I picked up Warcry was because they had just introduced the ability to use monsters again. So I'm like, okay, I can put giant plastic on the table. Sounds good. But like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Definitely for Blood Bowl, it's weird. I think if I remember right, in older versions, different size players would occupy different amounts of squares or something too. Which, like,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
whenever I hear old stories about Blood Bowl, it sounds like the craziest thing ever. It just
Yeah,
like
like
yeah,
I got into Blood Bowl in Blood Bowl 2, and like I've heard stories from you, No Brad Fowl. I've heard stories from BB Nut, who was basically just like, oh yeah, I used to take like piling on a mummy because you could add your strength to the injury, and I'm like, wait, what? It's like, why the hell are you getting plus like 6 on an injury? That's what that thing's dead. It's not living.
yeah. That's
Yeah, I know that's crazy rules.
Well, it's one of those things too, though, with casualties now. Like, I know a lot of people will get salty when they get like tabled or whatever, but there's an obvious snowball effect. I think it would be interesting to see if there was some way to maybe offset some of that snowballing without like completely destroying the spirit of what Blood Bowl is. But it's still one of those things where you end up getting like a couple SPP because you rolled two really good coin flips. And I don't know. I found that when I stopped relying on or pretending that I was always going to get, X number of casualties a game, that I started to just play better in general. And if you just kind of take them as you go and like adapt, then it's a lot better than, oh, well, I have claws on 4 guys. That means I'm going to, kill 2 of them. It's like, not necessarily. You still got to roll that 10 plus after or 9 plus or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've never been like a huge fan of like just oh yeah, I'm just gonna put Mighty Blow and Claw on everything and I'm just gonna kill anything that comes near me. I never liked it in Blood Bowl 2. Like when I first started I was playing Orcs. I got just recommended just play Orcs, you'll be fine. And I was like, oh okay then. And played Orcs for like, I don't know, about 8 months and then ended up like winning my first like tournament with them and in like an online speed bowl where it was 1 minute turns.
Nice.
Um, and then I went into like the ladder and I was like, right, so orcs are great until you walk into a death stack. And I was like, you know what counts as death stack? Wood elves because they can't use claw because my armor's already bad. So I mained wood elves for a while.
Yeah, they were pretty good in Blood Bowl too.
Yeah. I don't know how much they're gonna fare in Blood Bowl 3.
I think they'll still be good. They'll get banged out like every other soft team, but they'll still be good.
Yeah, and if you're rolling even average dice, the decent coaches won't be taking that many blocks every turn anyway. It's all about positioning.
And pure speed. That's the one thing I do love about Wood Elves. They've just got so much speed. Just Skaven, but with agility.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things. I know we were talking about dwarves earlier. Dwarves, I feel like in the card game scene, they're what a lot of people would call a noob trap, where, oh, how do I deal with this? They all have block, whatever, this kind of thing. Whereas, like, I hopped into my first game of Blood Bowl 3 this season, did Undead, and the first like very first thing, I was already scoring on turn 2 on their kickoff because I just like broke their line and just ran a goal around and then ran another one for screen, and I'm like, you can't catch me. Like I go in. But you see dwarves, like they'll do like well at events, but they very rarely win the events.
I don't have much of a recovery option, right? If things go bad, you know, or if they score on your drive, you're not getting a win, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about getting a quick score and turn you over. So they really have to rely on not allowing the opponent to score. As soon as the opponent scores, they're basically out of the game of a win. And if you're not going to win every game, you're not going to win the tournament.
And also, if you try to screen too much, if you're not like really being as in their face as you can be, then you're also missing blocks. Like kind of feels bad both ways from my experience dealing with them. I've done a lot more Chaos Dwarves than I have Dwarves, but
yeah,
Chaos Dwarves, you have sneaky movement. Not great, but it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played a game on Blood Bowl 3 in must have been season 1, and I was playing Wizards, and it was like a solid like mid TV around the 1400 mark, and like I could tell that my opponent, they weren't new because they knew what they were doing, but like I don't know, something was just a bit off and they weren't positioning right. And it basically was just like, oh, I have like 7 big dinosaurs and I'm just going, and I was literally just getting 2 dice and just punching them to death non-stop for essentially the whole game. And I only ever actually removed 1. And I must have gotten about 70, 80 blocks like easily in that game because for the most part, it was, okay, I've corralled them all. Skink's got the ball, it's ran past on my drive. And now it's literally just me punching dwarves for like 6-5 turns. It's just like, oh, well, I mean, they're dwarves, so I only removed 1.
Yeah.
And that'll be a good time, though.
Unless you're a half.
I mean, I still won the game, but like, you know, it was just, it was literally just a 1-0 of just like me punching dwarves. And then eventually when they got the ball, I couldn't really get it off them, but I was still just punching away their front line constantly and just sat there like, well, you're not moving anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the worst luck when I was playing orcs like nonstop with stunty blocks against me. There was some rule somewhere apparently that's like if a halfling throws a 2-die uphill at my orc, it was gonna just not be on the pitch afterwards. And I ran into that like multiple times and I was just like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? But I don't know.
It can be frustrating.
That was also probably a case of I killed like a million of them and then it happened once and my brain chooses to remember the one time and get upset about it.
That too.
Here's a question. So playing tabletop versus playing online, I'm sure since we all kind of like actually like try to win, you know, there's the temptation to get salty as you play if things aren't going well or whatever. Do you find it is like harder to avoid that temptation on one platform versus the other?
I find when I'm streaming, I don't get salty. Because I don't want to show that. I don't know if it's like I don't want to show that weakness or like I don't want to show how pissed off I really am.
Yeah.
I tend to take it a lot more lightly when I'm streaming. When I'm playing online and I'm not streaming, I do get pissed off sometimes, especially if it's like a game that I care about. Or like if I'm playing somebody who I think is very good and then I get a little unlucky after I think that I had a chance sort of thing, then it definitely can grind me a little bit. But tabletop, I don't get salty, but I do get like quiet if I feel like things are going poorly. But again, it's always skewed, right? You always think everybody who plays Blood Bowl has the worst dice in the world, right? So clearly there's something going on, and not everybody is the most unlucky person in the world. It's just selective memory, like it is with every gambling or variance-based activity, I think.
Yeah, and I try not to do any call-outs on people or anything, but the number of people that are conspiratorial about any sort of digital like RNG that think that they're specifically being targeted, like the CIA is like they cannot roll above a 3 this game, it's just
I've threatened before to make my stream title Dice Conspiracy Chat Room because people just continue to go off about random things and it's like how do the dice choose that it's you that gets fucked, right? Like it's not,
Yeah.
there's no algorithm that in the work in the background that is targeting you as the victim. Like, but it's just people with selective memory, right? It's when you you know, two dice uphill pow somebody, you're a goddamn genius, and when it happens to them, it's like, you know, oh my god, the program is out to get me. Like, come on.
Yep.
Yeah, this I love it, to be honest. It's like, oh yeah, Blodge, that doesn't exist. That's just, you're gonna get powered anyway, it doesn't matter. And I remember someone in the Discord was like, I rolled 5 1s in a row, and they didn't roll 5 1s in a row. They rolled a double one on a dodge. Their opponent played their entire turn, and then it was back to their turn, and then they did another dodge, rolled another double one. I was just like, oh no. I was just like, no. You're just getting really unlucky. It's not your fault, but it's not 5 1s in a row or anything.
Yeah, nobody at Cyanide has a personal vendetta against you.
They might against some people.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't help. Like some of the mobile games, like Marvel Snap, is still kind of popular. That one, blatantly, they will, if you lose a bunch in a row, they want you to keep playing, so they'll throw a bot at you that they try to make look like a person. And people have tested it. You cannot lose those games. Like, it doesn't actually have a defined hand. The computer doesn't. They will add whatever cards to the hand, and then people have tried making the least optimal plays or, you know, playing games where they like damage themselves to death, and the computer will find a way to kill itself first. And I'm wondering if other games doing that sort of thing also doesn't have some kind of effect there.
I mean, Cyanide's struggling to show people their team records in the preseason. I don't think they have the complexity to make a huge, huge sweeping technological things to make people win, right? Like it's, you know.
I mean, I know that AI is Blood Bowl 3, but it's not like it was really funny actually, because I was on stream and basically I had someone in the previous game. They were lower than me. They induced Eldril, and they were like, and then they ran Eldril up, and then realized that they didn't know actually how to do the Hypnogaze thing, because it's like half bugged at the moment. So you have to click the opposing player instead of your own player to do it properly. And thankfully, Cyanide are trying to fix it, but like. They didn't know how to do it, so they just gave up on it. And then that gave me like a free hit against Eldril, and I removed him, and they were just like, yeah, no, I'm out this game. So I was like, right, it's time to teach everybody, like, I need to make a clip, and I need to show everybody how the hell you do this. And I was like, oh, I might as well do this with multi-block and multi-stab and all this other stuff at the same time. And I just got a bunch of people like, oh, that's how it works. Oh, that's super simple now that I know it.
Yeah.
And I think that's Blood Bowl 3 in a nutshell, isn't it? It's like, oh, it's totally fine and intuitive once you know how to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's what tabletop, like, I guess one of the changes for the current season is, like, they're really big on declaration. So you go to activate a player, just go ahead and declare what you're doing. Like, people will start moving a piece or whatever, and it's just a whole lot easier to be like, move, bop, 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 done, move, bop, 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 you know, and it just saves a lot of potential headache down the road. Or they're like, oh, I meant this to be my pass, but they've already rolled 2 dodges, you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people got really annoyed when Blood Bowl 3 released, and they were like, why do I have to declare everything? And it's just like, I get it, I know it. Like, you know, you played a bunch of Blood Bowl 2, you didn't have to declare passes or anything like that. But, you know, it is technically in the rules, and it's just like, and once you get used to it, you like, you know, you don't really forget it. It does become second nature over time.
Yeah, for sure. Like anything, right? Like you do eventually get used to the changes, but there's always resistance at the beginning.
Yeah.
Especially when a game is like ancient, like Blood Bowl is. But it's something like that. I still run into players sometimes that think Claws and Mighty Blows still stack. And it's just because they've been playing the game forever, and then they play with their friends, and they just never unlearned that.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens.
So, hypothetically, new player, they just picked up Blood Bowl 3, they don't know what they're doing, they don't know what's going on, right? What advice would you give them?
I think because there's not really much of a rule book as far as in Blood Bowl 3, right? If you're going to pick a Blood Bowl and it's the first experience you've ever had with it and it doesn't really explain a lot, I found and the way that I found Blood Bowl was through Twitch channels, right? I think that they're a great opportunity for you to maybe not even with the streamer, but with the other people in the chat are really, engaged and willing to help people that are new, and everybody wants to grow the game and everybody really likes the game as much as people might bitch about it, the way the software runs and so on. I think that it's a great resource for people to just hang out while you're playing, and if you have a question about why something happened or why what skill I should be taking, like, people are very, very open to helping you with that. Maybe even too much sometimes, and but I think that me personally, like, it is infinitely helped my own game, both with me streaming and getting that same advice from people, but also just hanging out in chats, watching what people are doing, asking questions about why they're doing things, or why a certain rule is a certain way. And I think it's a really great way to learn the game, and to get a lot of knowledge in a short period of time. Because, like I said, within the software itself, there isn't really a great explanation about a lot of the rules within the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd fully agree with that. Like, just chatting with streamers, chatting with the community, with a grain of salt with the public Discord.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, just go to the Blood Bowl 3 Discord and ask 20 questions at once. It'll be fine.
Oh, God.
Like, sometimes it's okay, to be fair, but there's a lot of big personalities in there, so just pick your battles, I'd say. But overall, I'd say, yeah, the streamers are fantastic. YouTube content, like, you'll learn so much by just watching someone that's good at the gameplay. Being able to ask questions is awesome as well. And the only other thing I'd say is that if you have no preference of what team you're going to go with, like, well, you've got orcs for the straight up bash kind of play style, and the normal one that I recommend apart from that is probably humans, because they're a bit more on the hybrid side, but they have some speed, they have some bash, and they're a good team to learn. If you do have a team preference, to say you like the look of lizards and you want to learn lizards, like, just play what you're going to have fun with. Make sure that you're having fun more than, especially at the start. Just have fun. Throw some blocks, punch some stuff, and then, like, kind of just learn as you go, and just try not to get frustrated with the game, because it is dice at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is not blaming the dice. I mean,
Absolutely.
I can't tell you the number of people that are just immediately go to, like, these dice are bullshit, and it's like, then you watch the replay and they're not making 2 dice blocks, they're throwing 1 dice blocks, and it's like, sure, without a doubt, the variance and the dice are frustrating, but the game is all about reducing those failure points, right? So, while it's easy to get angry and pissed off about the dice and the way things are and how Nuffle absolutely hates you with all of his being, there's undoubtedly something you could be doing better to mitigate those risks. And people will sit there and tell you that they play perfect games of Blood Bowl, but I don't know that there is such a thing. I think that there's always something that can be done better. So sit back and look at what you're doing and ask for advice, right? People are more than willing to help. And now we have the replay system in Blood Bowl 3 that's great for that as well. A lot of streamers offer to help people like that for free, and are willing to look at your games. So, you might need some thick skin when you do ask for that feedback, but at the same time, it goes a long way. I always ask, like Artemis and Jimmy, I ask them, they often recast games, playoff games specifically, and I ask their opinions. I always watch the VODs on those guys watching it, because sure, they're going to call me an idiot 3 times, but they're going to pick out a lot of great things that I did do wrong. And ultimately, if I want to learn and get better, those are the things I need to address. But again, you have to be able to laugh it off, right? You have to be able to, know that you made mistakes and that you didn't play a perfect game, and nobody does, right? But the main thing is looking at them, reviewing them, and seeing what you can do better next time, and you will be better next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to play a different game, and I was essentially like semi-professional at it, and a massive part of like the team learning was literally just VOD review. Like looking back over your games, like it gets to your turn, you just pause it and you go, right, what would you do in this situation now? And then you play it and see what you did, because like it's just so valuable, and it's way easier to look at the board state and look at everything involved when you're not actually playing the game.
For sure. And the ability to stop, right, to pause. You know, you're on a bit of a time crunch when you're playing. You know, I personally, I play too fast a lot of the time. I'll just kind of like blaze through a turn in 15, 20 seconds, when obviously I should have taken more time. But going back and having the ability to pause it, sit there, and you can think about it for as long as you want, rewind and go on. It's funny to sometimes see what and say like, okay, like this is what I should have done, and then we'll watch what you did do, and then be like, wow, like that was awful. You know, it's hindsight's a funny thing, but yeah, I think that, you know, the self-reflection is big, and I don't do it enough, honestly. With the streaming, I tend to just bang out more games, and it's probably one of my weaknesses. But I do try to get as many hours in on the streams and so on as I can, so it does kind of limit my ability to do that. But it's definitely one of the things that if I want to continue to get better at the game, I'm going to have to do more self-reflection.
Yeah, I find it super funny where I'll be on the stream and I'll move a bunch of players, and then I'll do my blitz and everything, and the ball looks kind of safe, or I'm doing a defense and I set everything up, and then I'll go, right, enter, and then I look at it and go, oh man, I've screwed that up. Yeah. Just like, right, no. So chat, everybody, right, that should be there, because then that stops this, and then they can't get through. And then what happens is they just poke a hole and run through, and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, that was me being an idiot.
I remember Dimmy told a story one time. He was playing K-Fog on tabletop, and he said that like he sat there for a minute, like 3 or 4 minutes, staring at the board, trying to figure out how he could, you know, make a play. And then, you know, he eventually went, and then he looked up, and K-Fog was just like, yep, because he knew that he had left it on. And he's like, you know, probably for 3.5 of those minutes, he was just like, please, Dimmy, don't recognize this. And when he eventually did, he was just like, oh god, he saw it, right? But everybody makes mistakes, right? Everybody, you know, no matter how good you are, like I said, there's always little things that can be done better. So
yeah, absolutely. My biggest weakness is I'll have my ball carrier and I'll have some sort of screen set up, and I'll really run it through in my head and actually like analyze and think that I thought it all the way through. And then inevitably there's like one player that doesn't even have to make a dodge that can just blitz my ball carrier. And I'm just like, how brain, how are you missing this?
Oh god, yeah. My biggest weakness, and it's been very, very apparent on my streams for the last few days, is I go, oh, they've moved over to the side a bit too much there. I could totally just run over there. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, so the ghoul runs over, and then I do a kind of screen, and oh, wait a minute, zombies aren't that fast. I'm going to need to do a lot of rushes here, and I'm like, oh god, oh no.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's
planning your entire turn is something that takes some time too. Like it's easy to just like knee-jerk react to the situation. Then you're like, wait a minute, I'm short some players. Like now, what do we do? And then it's panic mode because you've already moved. You know, so it's it's tough.
It's just like, well, it's kind of safe. That'll do.
Yeah, as long as they don't roll a POW, it's safe.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I don't know, like. I love having the breakaway ball carrier, just getting out of there. I mean, that's kind of the gutter runner playbook, but like that works a whole lot less than people think it will.
No, for sure.
All right, so it's been a good chit chat so far. Is there anything y'all want to talk about, asked about, whatever?
I don't know. I think we've covered a wide range of stuff. I think we're in pretty good shape. I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I was really gonna like I had it kind of in the back of my mind was just like to bring up like perception bias stuff, but like we already kind of covered that, so it's all good, really.
So this is comprehensive. That'll be in the title, like all caps, comprehensive Blood Bowl 3 play guide.
Actually, we didn't go over the randoms change, did we?
That's true. Mm-hmm. I don't know Blood Bowl 3 well enough to know how that affects there. I know I would rather have the game reflect the tabletop the closest it can, but do y'all have better insight on this than me?
I think the change is, you know, I agree. I think that the randoms should remain the way they did. I think the only thing that's egregious about it is doing it mid-season, especially in the prize pool that they put up for the season. Just seems like a very, you know, like an inexperienced decision, right? Like if you're running a competitive game with prize pool, you can't just change. And it, it's not like it was right at the beginning of the season, 2 weeks in or something. Like it was like what 3 weeks left or 4 weeks left, and they just dropped like this massive change. It's just a really, really rookie decision to make, and a really weird ball drop to me. In a state where you're already in a kind of a precarious position as far as with the community and a lot of unrest and unhappiness, and then to make a sweeping decision like that is affects a lot of your best players is a really, really poor decision. That's all there is to it. You could easily say in 3 weeks when the new season comes out, we're going to employ this change. Here's 3 weeks notice.
Mm-hmm.
The people are still going to be pissed off, but at least they're going to keep the teams the way they are and carry on, and it's not going to affect the competition that's currently going on. I think that was a very poor decision, and I think that anybody can look at that and probably agree.
Yeah, I think I can understand some changes that from the tabletop rules, since it is. I mean, it's kind of like turning a book into a movie. If you try to do it one to one, some stuff is just going to come off weirder. And I'm not opposed to some of those changes. I know some people are purists about it. Other people would say just make the game fun for the sake of making the game fun. Because a lot of the Games Workshop, like computer game conversions, they'll just kind of make up their own system that feels like in the spirit of the original system to mixed reviews, which pretty much every Games Workshop game has mixed reviews on Steam. But, like, I don't know. I mean, I can kind of see it. But like you said, I think the timing of it was just really awkward.
It just seems unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, um, from my point of view, it was a very weird change. So, like, obviously, for the people that don't know and the people that are just like having to watch and stuff, if you random the skill, it was half price on team value and half price for the star player points. So what they did was they just made it full price for team value and kept the half price for the star player points. And like part of me is like I can understand it, but yeah, like I think whichever side of the fence you're on of whether like, oh, this is good or bad for the game in whichever way you think, just when it happened was the one thing that everyone agreed on that was bad because of it was the mid-season, and just it ruined a lot of teams, and I guess the only like saving grace that it happened with a month to go is that, well, people at least had maybe a month to kind of build a new team, but that shouldn't have happened in the beginning at all. And like, yeah, what you said there, like it being kind of like just an inexperienced kind of thought process there, I can understand that completely. It was just real. It was just real rough for everybody, and it riled up everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good at that, right? They're very good at finding a way to make everybody angry at the same time, and I don't know how they continue to do it, but they're real professionals at that. That's for sure.
I want there to be exhibition.
I still.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say. I still find it funny where people say like, why did they not drop the trailer for the new team like a week before? And then this is like at 2 days before, and I'm like, I mean, I get it, building hype and whatever, but I mean, you're still talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
and that in itself is its own thing. Like, if people are constantly debating what's the new team gonna be, even until like the day of release, essentially, like. Yeah. It might not be the best way of doing it. It might not be how I would have done it, but it gets people talking, and it gets people mostly arguing with each other. But, bad press is good press and all that.
Yeah.
I am glad that they got rid of the random 10-day gap between seasons. I thought that was very confusing between season 1 and 2. I don't know why they did that, and I am happy that they got rid of that and just made it a continuous rather than having a random off season.
I'm glad it happened. I feel like it might return. I'm not sure. I I feel like the only reason they didn't do it is because if they would have done it, it would have been Christmas, and they're all out off work, so there wouldn't. It was either like it's like there's an off season until next year, or we just skip the off season and have it start, and then we can just go on holiday for Christmas.
It just kills momentum, right? Like, you know, like
Yeah.
even myself personally, like, why do I want to play an off season? Like, sure, I want to play Blood Bowl, but you know, ultimately, I don't want to play a team that I know is going to be can't go anywhere and is going to be done in a week. You know, like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it does kind of kills like the I don't know the motivation, I guess, because like like I'm straight like I streamed the off season between 1 and 2, and I was like, I mean, what are we gonna do here? I ended up playing like a Croxagore and all skink team because I was just like, well, I'm just gonna mess around. There's no point in me playing anything remotely serious.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I hope, I don't know if this will ever happen, but I hope we get an exhibition mode. Like I would love, I know it would undercut some of the serotonin drop from like leveling up your guys and getting your team built up. But for me personally, like I used to do competitive fighting games, and being able to hop online, you have an even matchup and you just jump in and you just get to play a game, you get the pure like gameplay experience. Like it would be cool for me if I was able to just, you know, set up custom match, build total 1150, 42 SPP, and then just wait for a challenger, and they just throw a team together, and then we just go at it. And I think that would be really
there'd be a
cool.
lot of value in that in like a resurrection ladder, and I've said that a few times. But the thing that doesn't work is they've segregated the community, right? They don't have crossplay. So if you take an already hindered player base and then try to separate them into different ladders, it doesn't work because there's already population issues, right? So if they get crossplay working 100%, right? Why not have a ladder that has resurrection and you have a certain rule set for the season and everybody can create their teams and it basically just tracks your record and that's it, right? Maybe touchdowns or whatever, but there's no progression. I think that certainly works, but before they get anything like that, they have to have crossplay.
Yeah.
If you try to chop up the, you know, imagine like, you know, you see it Electric on Xbox, the community is, or the population is quite low. Imagine having to divide it in half a game, right? Like it would just absolutely go to it.
Well, what would happen is that just like either the whole like it would split the community and then like both sides it's just it just dies off, or whichever game mode people prefer, the other one would just die
to one or the other. Yeah.
Yeah. I would actually really like that. I mean, I'd actually, especially because they've announced as well for a tournament at the end of season 3, as well. I'm actually super interested on because it feels like they're doing like basically bringing back Chalice, but at the end of the end tournament is essentially kind of like NAF rules. So I think it would be kind of valuable to like especially once crossplay is involved and everyone's like in one big pool of players, like maybe for like the last month of a season, like they kind of have like the tournament prep kind of like resurrection ladder almost, where it's just like, oh, this is the team that you might want to test if you make it to that tournament. Like you have like a month before the end of the season to kind of like go against people that are testing their own tournament builds and that sort of thing. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be an option. Sounds like it would be a good idea.
Even just the capabilities for one-offs. Like I said, like coming from fighting games, sometimes I have an hour before bed, I want to do something, you know, and I'll just hop on there. I hop on matchmaking, and then I just get to play the game with somebody. And don't get me wrong, while I love flat 1 million, you know, value teams that I have to like start with every time, I'm a brewer at heart, and I love being able to just play with janky, weird skills and experiments. And, you know, maybe I want to throw diving tackle on 3 of my pieces and burn up some of my things just to see how it works, you know? And when it comes to like actual development leagues, like obviously this isn't the platform I'm going to be doing that on. I would be doing that on Fumble or something, and I'd be hitting up a friend and we agree to a rule set or that kind of thing. But I don't know. I like the idea of supporting like casual one-off games too.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if they could just get custom teams going like they had in Blood Bowl 2 where you could do that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
I mean, I'd imagine that like it. I mean, I imagine that's going to kind of come to the public at some point because I mean they're already doing it for like private league stuff essentially for like these like end of season tournaments. So I imagine like once they get that ironed out, then like the league tools, admin tools, all that sort of stuff should come to the public, and then that just gives everybody a hell of a lot more freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of these things are just overdue.
Yep.
It's that's what I always say when people start getting quite irate in the Discord. It's like, I mean, it's slow. I get it. I understand the frustration, but it's coming. I mean, look, we've got multi-block now. It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the benchmark.
We finally got the shittiest skill in the game that nobody wants.
Hey,
Thank God.
hey, multi-stab
I mean,
is a thing that exists and only works against stunnies.
The amount of people that were like, this game's terrible. It doesn't even have multi-block, and I was just thinking, like, when are you
when
ever
was the last
going
time?
to use multi-block?
Like now it's finally into you can never ever use it. Like who cares?
Yeah,
Assassin.
now,
It's the Dark Elf
Such a
Assassin
long-
skill. That's it.
Yeah, like now I can multi-stab. Like now you...
oh look, the tree man. He now has multi-block, but the only team with a tree is OWA.
Yeah, like thank God. Thank God. Now OWA is overpowered now that they've added multi-block. Everybody's playing them.
All right.
OWA are pretty strong, I've heard, on like the tabletop NAF stuff because they just get a billion skills thrown at them.
Yeah,
they're not bad.
Depending on the packet, for sure. Some of the packets they'll tier them down with stunnies even, and it's kind of insane. At that point, you just actually have everything.
Never seen one take multi-block though. In a tournament. Oddly enough.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen multi-block at all, ever. Like, even when I was playing Blood Bowl 2, like, never saw it, ever. Even, like, if someone was running, like, Assassins or, like, Treatment on Woodies, literally anything, you never saw it.
No.
You just got to get
There's a reason.
the dauntless multi-block combo so you can make people argue about timing.
Yeah, fuck.
I'm very tempted to do like a full-on kind of just multi-block dauntless dwarf team and just see what happens. The problem is it's just going to take me like 20, 30 games to get it going. But like once it's there, I'm gonna seriously see if anybody can withstand the might.
Well, that's what I'm saying with the exhibition modes. It would be fun to be able to test out some of those skills or some of the weird mutations or whatever. I would almost like to see a tier list separately for skills, but really it only comes down to a few of them that feel really staple-y to me. But there's a lot of different ways you could address that. But block adding the same team value to a piece as like strong arm or something. It's just shadowing's the go-to. Shadowing and Ironheart Skin. Ironheart Skin, man. That's like ignore class.
I think it's like if Ironheart Skin was like renamed to like body armor and it was a general skill, I think it might actually see a bit of play.
Strength access, like orcs and lizards are the ones that need it. It's like the only teams that can get anti-claw skills are claw teams.
Yeah.
What a fucking ass backward.
Yeah.
Good and the claw teams, they only want like block, mighty blow, claw, guard, and then it's untackle and stuff, and then it's like, oh well, I've ran out of level ups now.
Yeah. So I might as well make myself immortal.
Well, I don't know. I'm on the team of just change it to you can't modify armor and injury rolls against them from blocks. Like, just throw Mighty Blow in there too. Like, why not?
I think that makes it pretty strong.
It's also niche because it's mutations, and mutation teams, like, how many of them are you starting with your block, or your dodge, or your anything else? Like, throw them a little bone. Just a little bit of something.
I don't know if they need any help.
I still don't think it'd be any use.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, like I was saying, it's been a good chit chat. Is there any shout outs y'all want to give? Anything you want me to link?
I guess just, I mean, for the link stuff, it's mainly just like the Twitch channel, so people can, maybe come along and have a chat with me and stuff. As for shout outs, I guess just the community in general. Like my stream community is awesome. The community itself has its moments, and yeah, I mean, without the community kind of gravitating towards me at least a little bit, I wouldn't really have any popularity or anything like that, and I probably wouldn't be able to really do stuff like this. So it's always good being able to add content to the community and help out a bit. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that just get it there, get chatting in the Twitch channels, support the streamers, and you just being there goes a long way in helping them keep doing what they're doing, and keeps interest in the game going as much as we can, and eventually it will be a great game, and then they'll drop a new version that won't be, so it'll be all good.
That's cool. All right. Well, thank y'all for taking your time out of your holiday schedule, your busy holiday schedules to talk to me, and come around next season. I'll be doing this again, so whoever wants to show back up. But yeah, thank y'all.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
And keep on watching.
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven,
8, 9, 10.